Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
And let's talk about what lessons about.
Let's hang out.
And let's listen to 2 lesbians shout.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
Welcome to Les Hang Out, a podcast hosted by 2 lesbians. This is your East Coast host, Ellie Brigida.
And I'm your West Coast host, Lee Holmes Foster. And we wanted to start with a content warning for this episode because we're going to be talking about issues involving sexual assault survivors. We know it's a little bit different from what we've been talking about in a lot of other episodes of the podcast so far, but we think it's a really important conversation, and we're excited to share this interview with you all because there's a lot of information and a lot of news coming out right now about sexual assault survivors who are finally getting to tell their stories and especially to be listened to and to be believed.
I met MILCK, who is an activist and performer, at the Women's March in DC last year, and we are just coming up on over a year since the election. As upsetting as it is that we are still having to have these conversations, we think it's important that we have them and that we continue to support survivors as they share their experiences.
Yeah, and we're really happy that we had the chance to sit down with MILCK and have a conversation about a lot of these issues.
I can't keep quiet. No, I can't keep quiet. No, one more minute higher. No, I can't keep quiet.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's always great talking to you. So what have you been up to since the Women's March and the I Can't Keep Quiet video going viral?
Since the Women's March, which was in January of this year, 2017, I have been on one end just receiving a bunch of messages from women all over the world. And, you know, it's women from Ghana to Thailand to Philadelphia to London. And I'm learning so much about how our stories of survival are very, very unique and different, yet also very much the same. And as a songwriter, I've been absorbing all of these different stories and learning these lessons that are impacting how I write. Like, how do I write about empathy? How do I write about wanting people to listen to each other and having more peace in this world? I signed with Atlantic Records, which has been awesome. Yeah, they're a great team. I remember walking into their office and feeling super intimidated and feeling like I don't belong here until I met their staff and just how much they believe in empowering women and the family vibes. And yeah, so I've recorded an EP, which will be coming out in January. And that has more songs about like my own journey, like trying to figure out how to break my own silence and forgive myself and forgive the other people around me who did their best, but maybe weren't able to see what I needed at the time of going through some of the hurt.
So while you're talking about, like, you know, changing the world and the whole I Can't Keep Quiet movement, I mean, Ellie, I know obviously you got to join in on the flash mob that was in DC. But, you know, I would love to hear a little bit more about how did that come together? How did you put that together in the first place? And how did that sort of happen?
So the Women's March was this awesome opportunity for me to create this project where I reached out to women through Capital Blend. We ended up having 25 strangers coming together to sing, and we're all from different backgrounds. And, you know, at first when I was envisioning doing an a cappella performance on the streets. I was thinking of recruiting maybe 9 girls from Los Angeles and we'd fly over to DC. I tried to recruit women from LA, but I didn't get any responses. I think it might have been too early for people to know what they were going to do about the Women's March. And the Women's March didn't become this huge viral thing yet. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll reach out to a bunch of women in DC and see if they want to join. And so the way I did it was I reached out to a cappella groups. So I looked for university a cappella groups, but I also found your group, Capital Blind, which is like post-college graduates that are just still loving a cappella and still doing it.
And especially because it's in DC, there's so many activists and like very involved political women in Capital Blend for sure too.
Yeah, which is amazing. And so I was pumped. So I wrote I think it was like a 7-part harmony and then with vocal percussion. So there are 8 different parts. I recorded each part separately and I sent it to the GW Sirens. I thought that was it. That was the plan. I was going to work with GW Sirens. And for some reason, I went into my spam box to clean it out. And I, for some reason, saw the Capital Blend email in the spam box. And then so I opened it and I responded. And this is like a couple weeks later. I was like, I would still love to have you guys involved. And then. Yeah,
it was a pretty quick turnaround, I remember. But we were definitely excited about working with you and making this happen. So it was very cool.
Yeah, and none of us knew what was going to happen with the song. It all worked out where the video went viral. And I think about like how we got even to the streets together, like the process of our rehearsing and our collaborative energies and how we all worked really hard to not be egotistical and to just be collaborative. And I think about it, how wonderful and special that was, but also like how women are. And by the time we got together, we had one rehearsal the Thursday before the Women's March. Not everyone could make it. You weren't there, right? I think I met you on.
Yeah, I actually was not at the rehearsal. And they were like, well, she could do it.
Yeah,
I can do it, I promise.
And that was part of like the magic of the story too, is that like some of us didn't even know each other until the day of the march. And I think that inspires people.
Well, I think that brings us to the next part, which is, why do you think it resonated with so many people? I mean, I think the flash mob aspect of it almost made it more powerful than if we had been on the stage.
I agree with you. I remember Alma, the woman who filmed the video that went viral, when she contacted me on Twitter, she was like, you know what's incredible is that like you guys were not on the stage. And she's like, you're by the people for the people. You're from the streets. It makes it feel like people have power to rise even from, the most common of the areas, the street. While the video was going viral, that whole month after, I was like, why did this go viral? One, I thought, okay, well, maybe it's like a good way of encapsulating how every woman felt at the march, because there's this hopeful, defiant vibe, and it was like full of love. And our performance was loving, like we were smiling and we felt joyous. When I wrote this song at the end of 2015, I had no idea Trump was going to get elected or we're going to have a women's march, any of this. I was on my own journey of trying to find my own voice again because of my specific upbringing in a really traditional Chinese American household, having an eating disorder and like having an abusive relationship. And I felt so silenced and unheard in a lot of my upbringing and my youth. And I didn't feel safe in my own hometown because of the relationship I had. And so I thought, a light bulb went off for me. I was like, perhaps it's because in our country and around a lot of other countries around the world, a lot of people feel unheard or unsafe because of so much abuse of power and just how the systems are rigged a little bit against the 99%. And harmonies also always just are so healing and they just sound so great. And the fact that a lot of us strangers gives people hope. It kind of gives people a talking point where they can say, well, these women didn't know each other and they were able to create something beautiful. And so why can't we come together as strangers and create better governments and better peace?
Well, obviously on our podcast, we speak from a queer perspective, but we think it's so important to have intersectionality and activism. So how do you factor intersectionality into your particular brand of activism with I Can't Keep Quiet and your music?
So yeah, I created this thing called the I Can't Keep Quiet Fund. We're pairing up with 3 different organizations that deal a lot with intersectionality. So Tuesday Night Project is the longest standing LA open mic series that empowers LGBTQ communities and also people of color to come and share their spoken word, their dances, their music. That was the first place I shared that I was a survivor of sexual assault. And there's a group called Step Up that provides mentorship to girls ages 13 to 18. And a lot of those young girls are girls of color and people who don't have resources to get a good education and good career path set up for them. So that's another organization. The third one is called the Joyful Heart Foundation, and they help with sexual assault survivors. And they've helped to reopen rape kits. There's a lot of cities that have like thousands of unopened rape kits just sitting in a storage room. And there was one woman, and she saw that there was over 11,000 unopened rape kits in Detroit, and she said no more. And she was able to reopen 10,500 of them in the course of 8 years, which is amazing. So yeah, those are the 3 organizations I'm teaming up with. The key to a lot of peace building is to build more community. I think a sickness in our culture is we're so self-driven and isolated that we're not building relationships with each other. And so these 3 organizations are doing the same thing. And that's part of, I think, the perspective of the intersectional feminist is we see the value of how other cultures are built. Like, you know, like I see the value of how community works.
Mm-hmm. So I think along those same lines, unsurprisingly, The Bold Type's one of our favorite new shows, which has such an important queer storyline that features a lesbian and a bisexual character, which is great, but also really importantly has 2 women of color, queer women of color, which is huge for, you know, one network TV show. And I'm sure you know Quiet was featured on the season finale in an episode that focused primarily around survivor visibility. So could you tell us a little bit about, you know, how your song came to be featured on the show, why you wanted it to be a part of that, and how that all happened?
The Bold Type is one of my favorite shows because of how progressive the storylines are and the way that they portray these women, like women of color who are lesbian. The music supervisor, so the guy that designs the soundtracks for each show, had heard about my song from the Women's March, and then he had reached out to my team, and then we really loved the concept of their show, but we were working on a new version of Quiet, and we're like, well, could you hold off because we're going to have this new one soon. It's more joyous, and that's what we want to put out into the world. And he was like, cool, totally understand. So they moved forward without using our song for the episode he was originally thinking. Then a few months later, he got the script for the season finale, actually. And there's a storyline about one of the lead characters being a survivor of sexual assault and coming out about it. And he thought, oh, well, this is absolutely perfect. So we all thought it was kind of meant to be how the song just was ready at the right time for the show. And so they sent me the show beforehand so I could watch it and see if I liked it. And I was so moved by it, and then, you know, I was trying to catch up with the show to understand the context, and I had a lot of fun. That was like my quote unquote assignment for
what
work.
A beautiful assignment. Yeah, myself and Lee totally binge watched The Bold Type, and that final episode is gorgeous. It's so moving.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/leshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/leshangout.
Let's hang out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.
You come to the New Yorker Radio Hour for conversations that go deeper with people you really want to hear from, whether it's Bruce Springsteen or Questlove or Olivia Rodrigo, Liz Cheney, or the godfather of artificial intelligence, Jeffrey Hinton, or some of my extraordinarily well-informed colleagues at the New Yorker. So join us every week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, so many tears, all of the tears. But I love the bold type because they're addressing issues that affect women in a very real way. It feels very honest and true to life.
Yeah, I get goosebumps because I remember when we were younger and I was watching TV shows and the narratives were so not female empowerment. You know, a lot of the narratives were about like an attractive woman and how she couldn't like have a relationship with an attractive man. And that was like the storyline. And, you know, I was fully entertained for a lot of them, but like that type of narrative isn't necessarily the most enlightening or empowering for a young girl, because we already have so much messaging saying that we're more complete when we're like with a man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in the bold type, the main relationships are the relationships between the women, even not the lesbian relationship, the relationship between the friends, the relationship between their boss and this sort of motherly figure, and also this driving force behind this powerhouse magazine. It's very empowering. Yeah, all of the central relationships are female driven, which I love. So we did talk a little bit about Jacqueline, one of the characters on the bold type, coming out as a survivor.
Yeah, that's actually something that I think is really interesting. It's something that we've talked about in the very first episode of this podcast, is as lesbians, as queer people, you know, coming out is not something that you do once in your life. It's something you do over and over and over again. So I'm curious, like, if you could talk a little bit about the parallels with, you know, being a survivor, and how does that also relate, you know, if you have people who aren't familiar with your music, don't know the song, you know, that process of having to relive and you know, kind of reshare that story over and over again.
It's interesting. Lately, I feel myself getting re-triggered, and it's a subtle thing because, you know, I've done a lot of work. I've gone to therapy, and I've come to a place where I feel so ready to help others as well to come out, because I know what the benefits are. I've seen myself just stretch into my personality and my potential more fully after I've forgiven myself of the self-blame and shame. I've kind of let go of all of those things. What happened, which without me realizing, and I just realized this past month actually, is that I was getting re-triggered. The re-triggering comes where it's a subtle negative voice that was like, oh, well, you know, now you're hearing all these stories of other women. They've gone through way worse than you. How dare you use the platform to share your story, and it's not even that crazy. Like, your assault was nothing compared to hers. Like, that type of negative talk I have to wrestle with. And then sometimes I just have to let myself feel really sad and then come back up. So the beauty of dealing with working with the Joyful Heart Foundation is that Miley, who's the woman who started the organization, she actually recently came to one of my shows, and after, she was like, hey, you have to take care of yourself because you will get re-triggered again. And like, it's just gonna happen. And when she said that, a light bulb went off my head. I was like, actually, I think I am getting re-triggered because I'm having a lot of this negative talk going on in my head. There's so much of the conversation going on now in our society with the Harvey Weinstein storylines, and now, you know, so many men are being called out now, and Louis C.K. and all that. And so more of these conversations are going to be had. More of this like re-triggering is going to happen with other women as well, and other men who have been sexually assaulted. So I think it's important to look up different ways of self-care and forgiveness, and just to like recenter.
Yeah, that's great. Especially there's so much going on in the media right now. It's like every single day is a reminder of things that women and men who are sexually assaulted have to deal with every day, and you're getting continuously bombarded with it. It's a lot, and it's very important. Self-care is 100% the most important thing, especially for survivors and for all of us.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned earlier on, you know, some of the organizations that you're working with. How else, like, what are other things, or even smaller things, like one-on-one things that people can do to help and continue to support the survivors that are in their lives?
The I Can't Keep Quiet Fund is a really cool thing to explore and share. Everyone's going to have their own ways of wanting to be an activist. The site, ican'tkeepquiet.org, shows the 3 different organizations. If any of those speak to you, then feel free to donate or to get involved with them. Send them a message, share your story. It can be as simple as that. If you want to send me a message and share your story, if you want to collaborate with me to share your story, the more that people see others sharing stories, the less afraid they will be and come forward as well. And I think the more we empower ourselves, just a more healthy society we can build. And share the song and the video if it speaks to you, and also just sharing your stories with your loved ones. I think it all starts with the communities that we're entrenched in, like our sister and our best friend, our neighbor, asking questions and sharing vulnerabilities.
So I think you sort of addressed this already, but is there anything else that you'd like to say to the survivors that are in our audience?
Wow, it is such a powerful and emotional time for survivors, because the wounds are culminating into the surface, and it's almost like this volcano's erupting, and we see the lava of like all that pain and all these different stories, and all of us haven't been aware of this lava. It's just been like brewing underground. Like I said before, the self-care is really important, and if you're wanting to share your story, being aware of possible re-triggering is good. And then beyond that is knowing 100% you can get through the retriggering, and it'll just build more confidence in general. And I think everyone shares at their own timeline. If someone's not ready to share right now, like, trust your instincts and your intuition. For so long, our society's degraded intuition as this like soft skill that's not important, but like your intuition will let you know when you're ready to share these thoughts. And also to know that fear is always going to be there. It's just when your intuition will let you know when you're able to handle that amount of fear. And
moving forward, do you have any new projects that are coming out?
So coming up, I sang a song called Ooh Child for this commercial for the Olympics, and that's going to be playing more on the television, I think, starting in January. People can watch it now online, but it's a campaign of love over bias. So that's going to be coming in January. Awesome. Alongside my EP is coming that time. And right now I'm just trying to write a lot more music before I go on the road. I'm opening for Ani DeFranco, which is like a dream come true. Yeah, I'm going next week, and I'm going to be playing 4 dates with her. So if people live in Phoenix or Dallas or Austin or New Orleans, I'll be there with her. And I'll be doing a bunch of traveling and like radio show interviews in January, so I'll be in different cities and stuff, and I'm trying to think of how to activate the I Can't Keep Quiet community wherever I go. So more things to come for sure.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
For our audience, we will have all of those links to all of MILCK's music, all of the organizations that you can help, and some links also for survivor resources. Again, thank you so much for coming, and we can't wait to see more from you. We want to take a minute to offer our support to those of you in our community who are survivors of sexual assault.
There are so many great organizations out there that are devoted to helping victims and survivors, both in general and also within the LGBTQ community.
And we'll have a list of those resources for support on our website, which you can find at leshangoutpod.com.
You can also find us on Twitter or on Instagram or on Facebook, where we are at Let's Hang Out Pod on all of those.
And if you want to find us individually, the best place to find me is at LEB2792 on Instagram and Twitter.
And the best place to find me is on Twitter, where I am at LSH Foster.
For now, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee. And let's hang out again soon.
Put on your face, know your place. Shut up and smile, don't spread your legs. I could do that, but no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, if I just lie still, would I be that monster, scare them all away? If I let them hear what I have to say, I can't keep quiet. Not anymore, 'cause no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, take that dry blue pill, they may see that monster, they may run away, but I have to do this. I can't keep I can't keep quiet. No, I can't keep quiet. No, I won't keep quiet.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's incredible Only One story. We talk to real people dealing with issues like infertility, the death of a loved one, human trafficking, and women who, fake it. Oh, and we want to be fair, so we talk to celebrities too. Emmy winners like actor John Cryer, supermodels like Amber Valletta, and rock stars like Ryan Dusick. Everyone is invited to share their Only One story with our listeners. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee you that Only One in the Room has a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone. Download Only One in the Room on Apple or Spotify today.